Hello, and thanks for joining us for Eye on New Mexico today. I'm Nicole Brady. My guests today are Chris Garcia and Chris Rainey. And the first Chris here, 11 years old, and he has just written and produced his first complete short film. Amazing project here we'll talk about. Thank you, Chris, for being here. And older Chris, thank you for being here. You were also involved with the short film Descanso, which was inspired, of course, as we know in New Mexico, Descanso is a roadside memorial that people set up to serve as a reminder of the lives lost on New Mexico roads. So a sad story, and I wanted to start off with Chris here to tell us why you wanted to do something, a project on these descansos. You just started noticing them and wondering what they were. Is that right?
Yeah. And whenever my dad told me what they actually were, I felt sad about how many people have died. And I saw a few that had teddy bears on them, and and I looked at them, and they were from the 2000s area.
And so these were young people, you know, like
Very
yourself,
young, yes.
that have been killed on roads. A very sad story, very sad stories out there. Now, you started this as a photography project, is that right? You just started taking pictures?
Yeah, I was very interested in them. I was always curious about them. And so me and my mom and my dad started taking pictures of them.
And just go, and so how did you make the jump from that to deciding I want to write a fictional story about this?
Well, me being an actor, I was thinking maybe I could do something about this. Maybe I could help people memorialize the people that they have lost. And so that's why I wrote this movie. Pretty simple answer, but
you know, you kind of point out you were already acting. So you've been involved in other film projects before this, right?
Yes, mainly short films. I've been in a few commercials, and I've done some background work on things like Transcendence and A Million Ways to Die in the West.
So how did you know back when you were acting in some of these other projects that you wanted to make your own movie at some point and write a movie even?
Well, whenever I finally got to meet one of the writers for the short film, he was very interesting, and so I decided, hey, why not give it a try?
Well, there you go. I'm very ambitious, I would say, still for an 11-year-old. Not you're selling it short. Just why not give it a try? But we're going to delve into what Descanso is about in a moment. I want to bring in Chris Rainey here, who plays a character in the movie Descanso. And Chris, first, now you have a lot of experience doing film projects here in New Mexico as well. What drew you into this one?
The script originally. It was just really well written and surprisingly.
Wow, yeah.
And it was very, very touching. It was really moving. At the end of the story is great.
And you have a story that you've told in the promo for this movie about, you know, having witnessed an accident. You've seen these things happen out there and having that personal connection to what goes on the roads.
Yeah, it was on a New Year's night, and I was coming home from a party, and a police officer had hit an 19-year-old boy and threw him into my lane, and I then hit him, and so yeah, it was. It's just.
It never leaves you, I'm sure.
No, it doesn't. I have a hard time going from Paseo. It was Coors and Paseo, and I just avoid that like the plague.
Oh.
Just, yeah.
So you see the memorials set up on roads now, and I'm sure you know you definitely pay attention to them.
I do now. Yeah. Yep. Sure do. And you know you count all the crosses, and you know someone died there, and it's tough.
It is. And so many of these all around New Mexico.
There are.
Chris, you are playing a character in the movie. As we mentioned, this is a fictional story. Tell us a little bit about, well, you know, let me start with Chris Garcia here. What is the story of Descanso?
It's this family that is visiting one of the descansos, and at the same time, these workers are trying to remove it so that way they can keep moving on. But the family doesn't want that to happen, so they're trying to fix things and not let the workers trash it.
We've seen stories like that in the news here, where people will try to move a descanso, something like that. So this is somewhat based on things that a story that could really happen.
Yes.
But how did you kind of come up with this story in your mind?
Well, me and my dad were always thinking about something along these lines, and we finally decided maybe this could work.
Yeah, yeah. Chris, you play a character in the movie. Tell us about your character and kind of take us through that his plot line as well.
Okay, I play Archie, and he's a construction worker, construction foreman, and not too far off because I used to be a construction foreman. So, but yeah, he's a really jaded kind of guy. I would say that he's really tired of his job. He has a baby on the way, and I can't really tell you a whole lot more than that.
Teaser, yeah.
But yeah, he is. He's tired of these stupid little descansos on his job site, and he wants them moved. Just get rid of the problem.
And so that's going to create kind of the conflict and set up that conflict in this short film, which we think is somewhere between about 10 and 20 minutes long. It's still, now is this still in the editing process, kind of getting put together?
Yes, we're still trying to raise money on Indiegogo.
Yeah.
So,
To actually shoot it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And finish shooting, putting the whole movie together. We'll talk more about the funding for it soon, because this is a unique way that a lot of these projects like this are being funded these days. But Chris Rainey, I'll ask you a little more about playing a character in a movie like this. Now, you've done other acting in town. You've worked with bigger stars, of course, and you've done smaller films as well.
Yeah.
What was this experience like? Kind of in New Mexico, we know so many film projects are being shot, big and small.
Right.
How are you kind of seeing the differences between those different projects?
Wow, that's almost a loaded question, isn't it? It's a lot more fun on these little small projects. You get to talk with the writer every day, pick his brain a little bit about the character and what he sees for his vision. On bigger sets, you don't get that opportunity. The director says, do this, and you do that.
Yeah.
And be done. So, and the food is a lot better.
Absolutely. Well, and on the other side of that, Chris, I mean, you've acted in some projects here, some bigger projects. I think you mentioned Longmire and Transcendence and some big projects here in New Mexico. But to kind of be on the other side of things, what was that like?
It was very, very fun. I loved writing. I still love acting, but the writing, it feels like you have more in control of things. It's very, very fun and unique.
Yeah, do you change things as you go through the process a lot?
Sometimes I have to change things because, no, wait, this doesn't sound right. This sounds a lot better. So stuff like that.
And I mean, how does acting on other film projects help you, do you think, is sort of kind of know how to put that on a page as a script? I mean, obviously, you're a creative guy who could make up a story in your mind, but was it difficult to kind of get it out into a script?
It was pretty difficult. I mean, even though me and my dad would talk about stuff like this, it was still very difficult of thinking of a 16-page script.
Now, as we look ahead to maybe shooting this movie, are you using real descansos that are set up on the roads and using that for a lot of your video and your scenery out there on the roads?
We are. A lot of them are real. We're making one our own, but yeah.
That will be the centerpiece for your movie. But yeah, I mean, you kind of look around and you see so many of these. Have you ever talked to a real family who's set one of these up?
Kind of, in a way. It was more of like email. My mom was talking to one of them, and it turns out that the way that we have it, it looks exactly, the person that died looks, is just a little bit taller than me.
Wow.
And the way that we shot our beginning, it looks exactly like her son, and so she was very, very sad.
Very moved by that.
Yes.
I would imagine that a lot of people who've had lost loved ones on the roads will see this film. Was that something you've been thinking about, the fact that this will kind of be seen by people who've lost real life loved ones?
Yes, and I'm just trying to get the message out there that death is serious. No joke about it. You should take everything like that serious.
Yeah, really value things, and of course, you're a little young to be thinking about driving, of course, yet. Geez, it won't be long, of course, before you're out there. But we know in New Mexico, the state just passed a law against texting and driving, and there's been this and crackdown on drunk driving, a huge effort to try and make our roads safer. But as an 11-year-old, I wouldn't think you'd have been thinking too much about that yet at this age. road safety, I guess?
Well, me and my dad were always thinking about it, and so we kind of started putting piece by piece it together. And yeah.
Well, it's a lot to expose yourself to. At just 11 years old to really see what's real, you know, a very adult subject.
Yeah, it was hard to write at some points because at some of them I didn't really understand that much about it, and so my dad helped me with it.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, we'll talk more with Chris Garcia and Chris Rainey. I want to talk to Chris a little more about getting into that process, and we'll talk a little bit about the history of their acting and this movie and where it's going and where you'll be able to see this movie, Descanso. Stay with us. We'll have 1 minute break. And thank you for staying with us. Once again, I'm talking today to Chris Garcia and Chris Rainey about the short film Descanso. Chris Garcia, 11 years old, has written this film. He's acted in several other projects around town in the past, but this is the first one that he wrote, this fictional movie about a roadside memorial, a Descanso, and he's putting it together right now, still fundraising, hoping to get this shot and edited and the whole process. So I want to thank you both again for being here today. And Chris Rainey, of course, plays a character in the movie, as we've been talking about. Chris, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your friends and peers, other 11-year-olds, 5th or 6th grade?
5th.
You're in 5th grade right now. What do they think about this, that you're working on something like this?
They are very, very surprised, even though I don't really tell that many people because I'm not much of a bragger, but the people that I do tell are very surprised.
Oh yeah, well now I mean, you know, there's a lot of projects going on in the film world here in New Mexico. Do some of your friends also do these types of movies, films, anything?
Some of them are trying to get into it, and I'm trying to be more of an encouragement to them.
Nice. Yeah, how has that been? Have you had some pretty steady work here in New Mexico? Has it been a good industry for a young person to get into?
Yeah, I mean, even though it's hard for child actors, it's, yeah, I've been having some pretty steady work going on.
Good. And Chris Rainey, of course, has also appeared in several film projects here and elsewhere. We were talking about kind of how these smaller short films differ from the big projects, but you've done both.
I have done both, yeah, and everything in between. And
New Mexico's industry, is it fostering right now both the bigger and smaller projects, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. I've been doing this for 7 years, all in New Mexico, and last year was a really good year for me as an actor, and then this year is incredible. We've got a lot of projects going on in New Mexico. It's amazing. Would you say, is it hard for smaller filmmakers? I mean, you know, a young person like Chris, or even maybe someone just coming out of a film program at C&M or another film school, to kind of get into it here? I don't think so. I think it's a lot easier than you might think to get into it. That's great. Great encouragement. Yeah, it is. And we're getting to a point that we're going to need more crew here in New Mexico. So that, as a producer, I'm also looking at that going, well, okay, we've got major films being shot here. I need this crew. I can't compete with these. So it's a good problem to have. Yeah, absolutely. That's excellent. Now, your film is probably a fairly small budget, a small crew. Do you have a budget about? We're trying to raise $1,500. Okay. 15,000. 15,000. Okay, yeah. That would have been really small. Yeah. But like anything over 20,000, we'll split it with MAD, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Excellent. So let's talk about that a little. You're fundraising on a site called Indiegogo, and this is a site. These sites are becoming more popular for fundraising for these projects. Is that right? Yes, they're becoming very popular, especially in New Mexico. There's a lot more films now than there was a decade ago. Now, is Indiegogo just for independent films, specifically? I believe so, yeah. It's just trying to help you raise more money by kind of getting it out to the web and stuff. Excellent. So now you've got about 5 more weeks that you're looking to fundraise on Indiegogo. And again, you're trying to reach $15,000, but how is that going? Is it difficult, would you say, to fundraise? Is that one of the more difficult parts of making a movie? It is kind of difficult. I'm hoping that we raise enough money, but I'm hoping stuff like this will really help.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We hope so too. We hope everyone will see this and make a donation. Of course, it's very important to help foster these the youth. They always tell you, I always think it's funny. They remind you when you buy a lottery ticket, you're helping send New Mexico kids to college. And I think it's so great that we have these opportunities to look for little ways to fund these young people's dreams here, like Chris's here. What would you say, Chris, from an adult perspective? Fundraising, is that a difficult part of the process?
It's the major part of the process. It's probably the hardest part about making a film.
Yeah.
Is finding that cash to make it happen.
Absolutely. And you guys are still, you're hoping to get this shot. Now, how about how many people are working on this between the actors, the crew?
I'd say 12, 15 people. It's a real small crew. But all professionals.
Yeah.
They've done their time in the film business. So.
How did you find them, Chris? Were these people you've worked with before?
Yes, the majority of them were people that I worked with before. The director, Ron Weisberg, I would do acting classes with him. And some of the other people I haven't worked with, but I'm glad to work with them.
Chris, you said that you were impressed by what a great script it was, especially, written by an 11-year-old writer here. What about the other adults who signed on to the project, like Ron, the director? Were they just as impressed, would you say? I
would say so, absolutely. I'm not going to put words in their mouth, but yeah. The script is definitely the part that gets you. It's not about the money, it's not about even making the movie, which is the fun process, but it is a script on this one. It's really well done.
And a moving script. This is if we were going to kind of put it into a category for the audience here, is this a drama, would you say?
Yeah.
All the way.
Say drama.
Yeah. I would imagine, being about such a serious subject matter. Returning to that subject matter for a moment, Chris, I wanted to just ask you, what have you learned kind of about descansos through the process? I think you had said that before you didn't even necessarily know what a descanso meant, what the word meant or what that meant on the memorials. So tell us a little bit about what you've learned.
I've learned a lot. Descansos are serious. I didn't even know what the name was at the time. They're very serious, so don't take them as a joke. We need more people to help memorialize these guys.
Yeah, and you made a great point. Well, here, these are some images of descansos, real descansos, obviously, that you used in promoting the film, and you see the names on them. You see mementos like teddy bears, as you pointed out. Some things that could be pointing out that a young person was killed there.
Yes.
The bikes are another one we see. The ghost bikes are very common to see. So we see the bicyclists losing their lives on roads, and when you really put them together, that makes kind of a powerful statement when you see so many of these images all in a row like that. Would you say? I
would, and it really. I start watching for these now since I'm doing the film, and I just blow by them. In traffic, and now they actually mean something.
I think what's interesting about your movie, Chris, too, and what you've been saying today is that you're really putting a lot of attention on the descanso itself. Obviously, driving safety and what the state will do is try to keep us all safer on New Mexico roads, which is so important. They run some incredibly powerful advertisements, actually, on that the state puts together as well. But your focus here is on the descanso, on the memorial, and how that is so important to families. Is that right?
Yes, because if you're like a teenager texting, that could be the reason why some of these are. Or if you're drunk driving, it's terrible to see these there. Because these people have lost their lives. It's like a grave.
And I think you're right. You're tapping into that family's pain and perspective on, what that means to them and what they've lost. Did that strike you about the film?
Absolutely. Yeah. After I got done reading it, and I found out what a descanso was, I had no clue. And it immediately shot me back to that story. I was like, oh, well, hey, I've kind of got a relation to a descanso. So, yeah, indeed, it's pretty powerful.
And I'll bring up again that Chris mentioned that proceeds beyond the $15,000 raised for the movie will go to Mothers Against Drunk Driving. How did you decide to do that?
Well, they're basically doing the same concept that we are, just more on the lines of drunk driving, which we are too. So yeah, I figured that maybe donating, since we have more money, that way we could donate some to Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Absolutely. So any donation you make, of course, is going to be going to a good cause. This film hopefully raising a lot of awareness too when it gets made. You're hoping to have this put together to where us, the public, could see it by this summer. Is that right?
Yes. We're hoping to raise enough money to make it the full, and so that way we could have people watching it and realizing how serious descansos are and how memorialized we're trying to make these.
Yeah, absolutely. A great message. I could see this being shown in schools and you know, anyone who can really benefit from seeing this, which is all of us who are out on the roads, could use this reminder. Any future plans? Will you continue to write more movies after this?
I believe so. It was very, very fun. It was very unique the way that it was hard, the way that it was. It was kind of hard because some of it I didn't really understand, but I'll try to do more writing and stuff.
And how about you, older Chris? Would you participate in a very young person's project again?
If it was this good of a script, you bet. Hands down.
Well, I guess that's great that you know, filmmakers of all ages really are getting involved here in New Mexico.
That's the cool thing about the business, is that anybody can do this, but at any age.
Yeah. If you're creative, if you're talented, if you have a passion for it, get into it. And it was great what you said about being able to find the work here.
It is. It's incredible. CNM has great. I mean, you've got colleges, Mac College, Data College. I mean, you've got things dedicated just to film.
Excellent.
I wish we had that when we were young. Huh?
Yeah, you got started on a little bit later than this Chris did, but yeah. Well, congratulations to both of you for the success on this, and I hope that through Indiegogo you continue to raise money. Of course, we'll post this on our website KOB.com, and you can contact us here at the station if you want some information on donating to Chris's project Descanso, and hopefully we'll all get to see this come summer. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Keep it right here for Eyewitness News 4, and we'll see you back here next Sunday for another Eye on New Mexico.